Clearly, my father had been mistaken. When he went to the local college, he was in for the surprise of his life. The college had no record of my enrollment. I can only imagine the scene, him standing there, demanding to cancel my non-existent enrollment, only to realize that Jonas had never been a student there. The realization must have hit him like a punch to the gut. Naturally, the humiliation from that moment carried over into our call. His tone was sharp, laced with anger. He wanted answers. Where had I been for the past 3 months? What had I been doing with all the money he'd sent? But honestly, the whole situation was so absurd that I couldn't help but laugh. After enduring a few more angry outbursts from him and stalling as much as I could, I finally told him the truth. I had already graduated a year ago, on a scholarship. The money he'd been sending for my college fees? It had been a great help in getting me on my feet. But then I dropped the real bombshell. I now had a 6-figure salary. I was earning more than him. The disappointment in his voice was palpable when he asked if I was joking. But he knew I wasn't. The reality that I was no longer the struggling student he had envisioned, but rather an independent, successful man, must have been a bitter pill to swallow. I was prepared for what came next. The moment my father processed what I had said, he exploded. He accused me of betrayal, furious that I had kept my success from them. He ranted about how much he had done for me, only to be repaid like this. Done so much for me? Was he referring to how he and my mother had ignored me for years in favor of their golden child? Then he hit me with the most ridiculous demand. He told me the only way he would forgive me was if I attended Roman's wedding and ensured that there was no scandal or gossip about the family. I couldn't believe it. Even now, the only thing that mattered to him was his image. I didn't understand why he suddenly cared so much about the family's reputation. It had never mattered to him before. I made it clear that I didn't need his forgiveness, nor did I want to take part in their charade of a happy family. That only fueled his desperation. He kept trying to convince me to come to the wedding, but I stood my ground. There wasn't a chance in hell I would attend the wedding of the man who had ruined my childhood. Not only that, but I was done with all of it. The drama, the toxicity, the manipulation. I told him I was cutting them off. His shock was evident, but I didn't back down. I had spent my entire childhood staying silent, swallowing my pain while they trampled over me. But not anymore. I told him not to contact me again. They could enjoy their beloved son's wedding without me. I'd be too busy enjoying my life. He tried to manipulate me, pulling the usual emotional strings, but I wasn't having it. When he started droning on about how I was still his son and had a duty to attend my brother's wedding, I shut him down. I told him, "You only ever had one son, so keep it that way." Then I hung up, blocked his number, and just like that, I was free. It was a bittersweet feeling. I had never wanted things to come to this, but I knew it had to be done. At least now I could live my life in peace. Maybe one day I'd even create a family of my own. But of course, they couldn't let me go so easily. It had been over a month since I cut them off. I thought I was finally done with all their drama. Clearly, I was wrong. A few days ago, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. It was my mother, full-on sobbing. I had blocked all their numbers, so I was taken aback when she managed to reach me. I hesitated to hang up, thinking something might have happened. But no, it wasn't anything urgent. Instead, she started talking about how much she missed me, how she just wanted her son back. She claimed she didn't care about what had happened between me and Dad, that none of it mattered to her. She just wanted me to be part of the family again. And I'll admit, I was confused. Where was this energy when I told them I was cutting them off? They didn't seem to care then. But now, all of a sudden, she wanted to patch things up? Something didn't add up. So I told her I'd talk to her later, and hung up. I had a bad feeling about this. I reached out to my aunt, my mother's sister, to see if she had any insight. And what she told me? It was insane. Roman's wedding had been an absolute disaster. Apparently his perfect fiancée was nothing more than a scammer. Before the wedding, she somehow convinced Roman, my parents, and several other family members to invest all their savings into some shady, once-in-a-lifetime investment opportunity. And guess what? It was all a fraud. She took the money and vanished. No wedding, no fiancé, and no savings. But that wasn't even the worst part. According to my aunt, my parents were in even deeper trouble than I had imagined. My father had gotten into some kind of incident with an employee in their family, leading to a massive loss in his already failing business. And suddenly, everything clicked. This was why he was so desperate to get me to the wedding. It had nothing to do with family. He wanted to use me as a prop, to paint the illusion of a perfect family and salvage his reputation. But of course, it didn't work. The fiasco with Roman's fiancée only made things worse. They were losing money left and right. And to top it all off, they had put their house up as collateral for a loan in a last-ditch effort to save the business. That, too, had blown up in their faces. Now they were on the verge of losing their home. With nowhere else to go, they had to move into a rundown trailer or tiny apartment, whatever they could afford. Suddenly, my mother's call made perfect sense. She hadn't reached out because she missed me. She called because they were desperate. They knew I was successful, and now they saw me as their last hope. Well, I wasn't playing that game. I wasn't going to let them drag me back into their mess, not after everything they had put me through. And the best part? Now they were turning on Roman. They blamed him for everything. The failed wedding, the lost money, the downfall of the family. It was almost poetic. The golden child they had spent their entire lives prioritizing had been the one to ruin them. Not going to lie, I felt some satisfaction knowing they were finally facing the consequences of their choices. But me, I was staying out of it. After that call, I blocked my mother again. I wasn't falling for her emotional manipulation. Did that stop them from trying to contact me? Of course not. But at this point, I knew exactly who they were. Desperate, clingy, manipulative. And I had no intention of letting them pull me back in. Final update. My parents and golden child brother showed up at my door and got exactly what they deserved. So just when I thought this whole nightmare was over, my parents somehow tracked down my address. Don't ask me how. I have no idea which old friend of mine ratted me out, but clearly they were desperate enough to go digging. But the how doesn't even matter. What matters is that they had the audacity to show up at my front door, acting like nothing had happened. They started rambling about family values and how, as their eldest son, it was my duty to take care of them now. Excuse me? The same parents who ignored me for years? The same people who threw everything at the feet of their golden boy and treated me like an afterthought? Now suddenly I was their responsibility? Nah. I did what should have been done a long time ago. I slammed the door in their faces. Of course, that didn't stop them from pleading. They whined about how they were broke and had spent their last bit of savings booking a flight just to come see me. Well, that sucks for them, but it wasn't my problem. They never cared when I was struggling, so why should I care now? But wait, there's more. A few days later, guess who showed up? Yep, Roman. The golden child himself, standing on my doorstep, literally crying and begging me for help. He said he missed his big brother. Big brother? Oh, you mean the one you bullied and tormented for years? That one? I told him exactly that. But he kept begging, saying Mom and Dad were about to cut him off since they blamed him for everything. Apparently, their anger finally shifted from me to him, and he couldn't handle it. Guess he didn't like being the scapegoat for once. Well, not my problem. Roman got the same treatment as our parents. I shut the door in his face and warned him that if any of them showed up again, I'd call the police. Since then, radio silence. No calls. No unexpected visits. Just peace. Do I feel a little sad? Sure. There's always going to be a void where my family should have been. But I'm not letting that sadness drag me back into their toxicity. I refuse to keep suffering for the sake of family. Because let's be real, they were never really my family to begin with. I'm done. And honestly, it feels damn good.